I have on the line with me this afternoon Judith Lewis, the wife, and Jerry Lee Lewis. And Judith, you and I have talked, and people here at the radio station several times recently, and I just find you to be a delightful person, just bubbling with personality. And let me tell you, and let me welcome you to the golden airwaves of WTSB. It's a pleasure to have a great personality like you with me this afternoon.
Well, thank you, Carl. I'm very excited to talk to you, Jerry and I both. I just had to fix him a snack, so that's why I didn't have my phone with me. So I'm just real thrilled to be speaking with you, and very honored to be speaking with you and your fans that are listening and our fans that are listening. So I'm just as happy as I can be right now to talk to you.
Well, that makes two of us, and you have certainly been a good friend these last 2 or 3 days, and I want you to kind of take me back, and let's kind of walk back to the time that you first met Jerry Lee Lewis, and I want you to tell me about that and tell me about your dating relationship and the time you were married. So I know the good listeners of WTSB are anxiously awaiting to hear your story. So, Judith, come on in.
Okay, well, I met Jerry about, I guess, 30 years ago for the first time in Las Vegas. I was with my fiance at the time, and he was wanting me to meet Jerry. And so I did, and what is really strange is Jerry said to Rusty Brown, the guy that I was going to marry, he said, "Rusty, I can tell she's a really good girl, like a Louisiana girl, even though she's a Mississippi girl. If you don't marry her, I will." That's exactly how we met many years ago. And, of course, I saw him many times off and on, but never anything at all romantic, always just as a really, really good person and a friend. And that's how we met, basically, back then. And then you can ask me some other things, and we'll bring it on up to date.
Okay, well, we're going to have Jerry Lee on tomorrow, 2:30 my time, and 1:30, let's say 2:30, 1:30.
Yeah, it'll be 1:30 here. Yeah.
That's right. And then following talking to Jerry Lee Lewis, and we've already talked to Jerry, we'll have Lee on, and tell me just a little bit about Lee.
Lee is Jerry's son, Jerry Lee Lewis III. He is the most wonderful son that anyone could have. He actually does call me Mama, so I'm really thrilled. And he's actually trying to help his dad with his dad's legacy. He's the curator and the tour guide and manager and owner of the Jerry Lee Lewis Ranch. And he gives tours every day of our home where we lived before we moved several years ago to be closer to medical facilities and our doctors and that kind of thing. But Lee is just an extraordinary personality like his dad. He's a lot like his dad, with compassion and empathy and those kind of characteristics that are the most important. But if any of y'all ever come down here to Nesbitt, Mississippi, the ranch, how you get in touch with Lee is www.theLewisRanch.com. And Lee will answer the phone and set up y'all's tours, and they're very inexpensive, $30 a person, and under 12 is free. And you get to see the home that Jerry lived in for over 45 years.
Okay.
So we're all excited about that, but okay.
Okay, well, we've got down to Mississippi, and I happened to see 2 or 3 years ago the $1 Million Quartet, which was a profile of Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis Presley, and Johnny Cash, and I thought that the movie just left a great legacy for Jerry Lee Lewis, and he's one of the best pianists in the world. But he's an outstanding showman, and when he walks onto a stage, he just takes over. His electric personality kind of dominates. But let's talk about the legacy of Jerry Lee Lewis. What kind of legacy do you think Jerry Lee would like to leave?
I'm going to let you ask him that, Carl, but when anyone else has asked him that, it's been a while since he's been interviewed, but I think he said he wants to be remembered for his music.
Okay, well, I guarantee...
For his music. He can play any instrument. When he was a young lad, about 15, I think, he played... When their drummer wasn't there for the little wagon wheel where he played in Natchez, Mississippi, he would play the drums with one hand and the piano with the other and keep it going. It's amazing the talent that he has and the ability, and he can still do that today. He sticks with piano, but he can play all the instruments.
Okay. Now, as I talked briefly with Jerry a couple days ago, I found him to be, in my opinion, a man of faith. And so, am I correct in assuming that Jerry Lee Lewis is a man of faith?
Yes, sir. Extremely true and very, very spiritual. I just can't say enough about that. He has a direct connection like we all do, but his is extremely special with God and Jesus and the Holy Ghost. He's very spiritual.
Well, I get the feeling that you just have a wonderful marriage, that you love him as much as you can possibly love anybody, and I feel that Jerry Lee loves you as much as anyone can love anybody like a wife.
Yes, sir. We both feel like we've never had this. Of course, we have. Both of us had turbulent marriages, and we were neither one going to ever remarry. In fact, we waited quite a while, about a year and a half after we fell in love. He broke his leg, and he was incapacitated for a while, but he got well, and it was traumatic, but I wouldn't trade any of the stuff that we have gone through for meeting someone that is so much like the way I am and the way we were brought up. We grew up the same way, him in the Louisiana Delta and me in the Mississippi Delta, on the Mississippi River. And, of course, he was near the Black River in Faraday, but Natchez, Mississippi is only like 30 minutes from Faraday. You just cross over the bridge in Mississippi into Louisiana, and about 30 miles you got Faraday. So when we first met, but when I went there to help him, he was in pretty bad health, and his daughter was taking care of him, and she was not well either from the stress of the caretakers that were helping them had moved. And so I took care of both of them for the first 3 or 4 weeks and got him on his feet and helped with the meals and all of that kind of stuff. And then he had shingles and pneumonia when I got there, and we got that taken care of. And we would talk on into the night, and I lived not with him. I lived in a guest house, and I would go over and help keep the house clean and straight and take care of him, mainly just take care of him. And we found ourselves talking way into the night of how we grew up, our parents. It was amazing how much things that we had in common. I don't know any other way to put it. And that went on for weeks, and all of a sudden we just started feeling a little different. Now, I would be taking care of his shingles and the spot that he had on his shoulder, and I would be about 2 inches from where he could kiss me or I could kiss him. It never happened until we fell in love. It never happened during those times. It was no plan of mine at all to ever fall in love and marry Jerry Lee Lewis. No matter what you've read or what you say, I've never, ever planned anything like that or was after anything. I mean, he was nearly broke anyway, and I have a brother that could buy and sell him. So I just wanted to clear that up for the naysayers that would say that I married him for another reason. I did not. I'm pushing on 70 years old, and he's 82, and we're going on our 6th year of marriage, and every day is like we just got married.
Well, I could tell, even though I spoke briefly with Jerry Lee, I could tell in that early brief conversation that he absolutely adores you, and so there's no doubt about that whatsoever. So I know it's a great love story. You know, I'd like to see a movie about that sometime. I think that would make a great movie. What do you think?
Well, it probably would. But we have we just love staying at home with each other and going riding back in the woods area, the back way over to the ranch and seeing Lee and surprising fans with a visit and feeding our 2 dogs over there and then riding to Sonic where nobody knows him and getting a milkshake or riding to the little hamburger place right down the road and getting an ice cream cone. Is just a joy to do those kind of things. We don't do a lot outside of when he gets ready to play. He can only go so long without doing a show for his fans. He gets to pretty much say when he's going to play now. So he's in such demand even at his age that we have to turn down lots of offers because our bodies don't hold up as good with arthritis as they did throughout the years. But he still gets to that piano. If we could just parachute him to the piano stool, it would be no problem because he's back like he's 30 years old when he plays now, anytime he plays.
Well, you know, you just have to say he's had a fascinating, extraordinary life, having kind of come to the attention of the world in Memphis, Tennessee, with Johnny Cash and Elvis Presley. Did that friendship last with Elvis and Johnny over the years?
Yes, sir, it did, and he's just been had to deal with the death of his really good friend too, Fats Domino, and he maintained relationships with those 4, Fats and Little Richard and. The name escapes me, but the 4 of Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Fats Domino, and Jerry. Fats was, I think, about 9 or 10 years older than Jerry, but he always would want Jerry on his show because he had already made top billing and all of that, and he was very humble and very happy, and to be with Jerry. So yes, he was close to them, and he was close to Elvis and Johnny and all of those guys throughout their lives because they're mostly all gone now. But Little Richard is still doing well, and Jerry. So there's still two rock and rollers out there getting it. Okay.
Now, I know you're going to California next week, probably be out there a couple of weeks. I got a request here. We're going to talk to Jerry tomorrow and going to talk to Lee, but let's plan to get together about a week or maybe 10 days before Christmas, and we'll have a very special edition of Christmas with Jerry, Lee, and Judith, and I think that'd be a great broadcast, and we'll keep it short.
Well, that's a sweet thing to do.
Okay.
That's very nice. We love Christmas.
Okay. Well,
the meaning of Christmas.
Well, I tell you...
What did you get for Christmas when you were growing up?
Well, I got some candy, got some little toy trains, and maybe some guitar. Well, you know, we love the Cowboys, and I grew up loving Gene Autry, and I had the pleasure later on.
Oh, Jerry does too.
Yes, sir. Well, I have some gifts that the Autry family gave me, and I'll share that with you sometime in the future. But Judith, I just fell in love with you and Jerry and Lee, and so I don't want to extend this too much because I know it puts a lot of pressure on you doing things like this, but let's get together. And of course,
this has been no pressure at all. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've enjoyed it. I enjoy letting the people know what a wonderful human being he is and what a joy it is. Even though we're older, it's not true that older people can't fall in love and have the most wonderful time the remaining years that God gives us. So we cherish each day and each moment that we have, regardless of the circumstances.
Well, tomorrow's going to be a big day here on WTSB. We're going to present the killer, the great world-famous Jerry Lee Lewis, and his son Lee will be with us tomorrow. Judith, you have a good time when you go out to California. And
we will. It's a vacation, and he said, I think I want to make a little pocket money. He said, call Steve and see if he can just set me up out there somewhere, just an old hotel or something. So he's going to play out there one night, the day after Thanksgiving, and it's already pretty much sold out. We didn't think it would even be many people, being the holidays, but he basically has a pretty much sellout every single show, and he just can't physically. It's the travel and the packing and all of that he's done for 60 years. And it's grueling on our bodies with arthritis from him jumping off the piano and all that. But when he hits that stage, it's no pain. It's nothing. It's just like God shines a light on him. So anybody that can ever come see him. We're going to play also at our club in Memphis for fun on New Year's Eve. So we love stuff right down the road. So that's New Year's Eve. You might even be able to come, Carl. You can handle it.
Well, if I can get somebody.
You only got 10 more years working on than Jerry has on working.
Yeah,
that's a long time in radio also.
That's exactly right. Well, I want to, before I say goodbye, I want to say I love you. I love Jerry Lee. I love Lee. I love the legacy that Jerry Lee is going to leave the world. I'm going to ask you right quick. I'll cut off in a minute or two, but did you ever see the $1 Million Quartet?
Yes, sir. We were at the very first one in New York City, the first big one, and President Clinton was there, and Jerry got up on stage at the end with the guy that was playing his part, and it was absolutely awesome. And the guy actually won a Tony that year for that performance, so that was just amazing. That's the group. And then we have a guy that we've actually met, him and his parents. He played the Las Vegas, when they played in Las Vegas, the $1 Million Quartet. And the $1 Million Quartet people, they picked the very best Jerry Lee Lewis impersonators, and Johnny and Elvis and Carl, that it's just eerie to see them. And Jacob Tolliver played in the Las Vegas one for 4 years. We're actually going to see him in California when we go next week.
Judith, I wish we could talk for about 2 or 3 days now because it's so fascinating.
Well, now that we're friends, you'll have to, do you travel at all?
Well, I would, but I'd have to have my daughter or one of my sons with me.
I know. Well, we do too most of the time, but most all the time, unless we're riding around here. But if you could ever come see us, we do understand about the travel. So
okay. We
won't have another show. New Year's Eve is just 30 minutes down the road, but we won't work again until probably March. We'll do our physical therapy for our arthritis and watch our movies and ride around and just enjoy life.
I'm going to ask Jerry Lee tomorrow about his relationship, his kinship with Reverend Jimmy Swaggart, and let's see, the Mickey Gilley is related to him also. So I'll get that from Jerry tomorrow. Okay,
that sounds great.
Well, I'm just going to sign off with love and best wishes.
Love from us also.
And we
call our place Killer Corner. Mr. and Mrs. Killer.
Okay.
So Mrs. Killer is signing off.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pronounce prophetic blessing on you and your family, and I think I'm a Christian, and I feel like Jerry Lee and you are as well. So
Yes,
I'll just wish a prophetic blessing on you and the family. And this has been a thrill, and I'm sure there's thousands of people locally that have heard this interview today, and many have heard it on streaming audio all across the world. So Judith, thank you for a great interview, and you got a great voice. I love your voice. You just sound...
Oh, well, it's kind of low. It's been low all my life, and when I order from drive-thru, they say yes, sir, and I just don't even correct them anymore. I let them look shocked when I pull in to get Jerry's Egg McMuffin.
Okay.
But anyway, God bless you and your family. We love you, and we're looking forward to tomorrow.
Amen.
All righty.
Okay, well, there she goes.